Announcement. The hemp revolution will not be televised. I repeat, the hemp revolution will not be televised. Welcome to the Hemp Revolution podcast, the global hotspot for the buzz and the cannabis. You can hear the stories of the green rush from the dreamers who are writing the rules, innovating the business, and changing history forever. Immerse yourself with the fascinating stories from the leaders in the hemp health revolution to learn how we are changing the game forever. Introducing your hosts, James Brinkerhoff and Sonia Gomez. This is your one-stop shop to get the nitty-gritty deep dive into the health and cannabis business, the fastest growing cash-rich industry in the world. And today we are going to be interviewing Swan, one of the many pioneers in the industry with an 80% success rate when working with patients and fully extracted cannabis oil. In this episode, you're going to learn exactly what Feco is and how it's being used as nature's best medicine. And without further ado, help me welcome the founder of Firebird Therapy.
Firebird Touch Therapy.
I am dyslexic as all. We'll let her introduce herself. My good family friend. Literally, we've been friends for 20. She's been friends with my mother for maybe 35 years, therefore knowing me the whole of my life. And she's really the person that I plug into when I need to understand more about what I'm doing, how I'm doing it, and who I'm serving. So without further ado, help me welcome Swan. Hi, Robin.
Hi. Thank you, Sonia. Sorry. Yeah.
I'm fine.
It's okay. It's a lot of words, you know.
Yeah.
So it's fire something, man. Firebird Touch Therapy. That's the name of it.
Perfect. So since I butchered the introduction, why don't you go ahead and take a second and just introduce who you are, what your company is, and what are you doing in the industry?
My name is Swan, and I have a multitude of different degrees. My background is structural integration neuromuscular therapy with a emphasis on spinal cord repair and brain trauma. So I'm also a North American herbalist and have been compounding herbs since I've been standing. I started messing with cannabis very, very long ago when I was a young girl, and I've been really, blessed at this time in my life to be able to come out from underneath the blanket, so to speak, to be able to come forth and not necessarily lie, but not necessarily give the full truth about it. So it's been a really exciting this last decade for me and the growth of my company, which has gone from from hands-on to herbal compounding. So one of the things that we were at the forefront of was the CBD healing, because I knew from a very early age that CBD reduces inflammation in the cell, and it repairs the myelin sheath of the nerve. Now, that doesn't sound like a lot, except for when you're created as a human being, the first thing that you are is a nerve. That's the first thing that we are. When egg and sperm collide, they start creating a neuronet, and then they make the spine, and then out of the spine grows the brain. So when you say things like, I'm a bundle of nerves, you're not kidding, because your nerve endings go throughout your entire body, and they are wrapped in something called myelin. When that starts to fray and break apart, then the nerve pulse, the oxygen, and the pulmonary pulse to that area starts to dissipate, and that organ or cell structure begins to die. And that's where we get things like chronic pain, and that develops cancer, is in the death of those cells and the transmutation of them.
Through the whole of your life, and this is really important work that you and the way that you represent it, I think, is really super powerful as well. Like, you have ancestral teaching and connection to plant medicines. And one of these plant medicines that you have been specializing with and healing with is cannabis and hemp. I have to say that as a differentiator for compliance reasons.
Well, for sure. And because they're two very different plants as well. And they both, I like to tell people, do you like having one arm or do you like both your arms? Because that's how cannabis and hemp are. They're not the same, and they're part of the same body.
Yes. Yes. And there's small differentiators, which you guys know from watching one of the modules in here where we talk about the small differentiators. There's sort of three categories. Some are specifically bred for their THC content. Some hemp is cultivated specifically for its fibrous materials, more industrial hemp. And now there's a whole new movement happening where 55% of hemp that is being cultivated right now is specifically for the cannabinoid, cannabidiol, or CBD, which is the thing that is taking center stage right now and becoming the new vitamin C of the world. Robin has a lifetime of experience working with this family of plants, and most recently has branched off in creating specifically the CBD oil. So I wanted to bring her on today. I wanted to bring you on today, Robin, because I believe that there's a lot of misconceptions, misunderstandings, buzzwords flying around. I like to call it techno babble. And it's quite confusing, especially when it comes to how do I effectively use this product to manage, I can't really say treat or heal, but to manage my syndrome and the symptoms that are associated with it. That's the big burning question, right? Is it isolate? Is it distillate? Do I use full spectrum? What is the difference between the two and what's going to be the most effective? So I would love to hear from you, since you have so much experience with this, your opinion around CBD, and talk to us a little bit about the process that it goes to before it ends up looking like a tincture or a vaporizer.
Or distillate or a secondary extraction. So we were kind of at the forefront of extracting CBD in the cannabis industry. I was one of the first people to start recognizing it as a real value. And that conversation came out of a scientific misunderstanding of breast cancer and THC driving estrogen and therefore making estrogen resistant cancers more aggressive. So that I just have to say this every time I get the opportunity to say it, isn't true. It's just not true. So THC doesn't do that. But what CBD does is something that THC can't do. And one of the things I like to really express to people is that when you look at the molecular structure of the plant, there's 34 molecules. 2 of them are THC and 32 of them are CBD. So who's really doing the work? You see, who's really doing the work? And we have one receptor. We have CB1 and CB2 receptors, right, in our body. So, and the CB1 is all over the body. And that's the one that really absorbs CBD. So we are genetically designed and encoded to receive cannabinoid. That's exactly how we're designed. And when we were, long ago before the Industrial Revolution, all of our materials, our fibers were hemp. Our whole food was hemp based. We probably had hemp milk. We were wearing hemp clothing. So all of this is, CBD rich, even though it's, whatever. It's still getting into the biggest, our tongue, our skin. And then as they start to remove this thing called hemp and they start replacing it with cotton, we start getting sicker and sicker and sicker. Mm-hmm. So it's that simple how it feeds the system. And what it's ultimately doing is repairing the myelin sheath. So like I said, you're just a great big nerve pathway. And over your nerve is a sheath, like a glove. And when that glove is present over the nerve is able to send its pulse and its firing and be healthy. But as stress is one of the greatest ways to break down the myelin sheath. And then there's accidents and illness and, autoimmune deficiency. All of these things fray our nerve system. And as the nerve gets frayed, it starts to die. And what cannabinoids do, CBD, is they repair that sheath. They literally repair the myelin sheath. Now, that's phenomenal because they have not yet, and nor will they ever be able to duplicate it in a lab.
Yeah, it cannot be synthetically produced. And this was really interesting. I was speaking to Dr. Emmett Blair, who is actually making the corporate to cannabis jump right now, specializing specifically in hemp, and is, well-versed with liposomal technology and delivery system and all of this thing. We were talking about his experience working in big pharma and creating nutraceuticals. And he was saying that big pharma is making somewhat of a mistake by completely isolating out only CBD, because once you isolate it away from everything else, it's is effective, but only for so long. There's a ticking time bomb and then it stops to be effective. So and he was explaining that we don't really know, like you're saying right now, 34 molecules, 32 of them are CBD, only 2 of them are THC. How do we know who's doing all of the work? We can make our assumptions based off what we see on a microscope, right? But what about the other 300 molecules that are inside, or cannabinoids that are present inside of the cannabis plant? We don't know which ones are most effective. And so far, THC and CBD are the ones that are most heavily studied right now. So,
well, it's because they're the parents. Like if you look at a tree of life, right there, they're the parents. So underneath THC and CBD, then we have CBG, CBN, all these other things. So to understand that it's like a chain that comes down, that they're the parents, but there's a chain that falls below them.
Oh,
so if
God,
the parents aren't present, you can't be born.
Yeah. Wow. That's so
powerful
analogy. Yeah. No, that was mind blown. I got to take pause because my own mind was blown right now. I haven't heard it explained like that. And I don't know if you know this, but all this dark hair right here, I have blonde roots. So I'm a little bit ditzy sometimes. And when I'm listening to
such a liar, she does not. I've known her. I've known this head of hair.
No, but sometimes I have to think about things twice, and I'm like, wait a minute.
Well, I mean, it's so fascinating. That's the wonderful thing about where we're at in the industry is that it's an evolving science. And I do a lot of redirecting from RSO in that conversation. But when Rick brought that information up, it was just like that. It was like, what? And now 15 years, even more, we're a little bit even more than 15 years from that place. We've learned so much that it's inconsequential what he said. There's some value in it, but his methodology and his dosing structure, wrong. And only wrong because we have evolved in our knowledge of it. So it's such a I tell people all the time, well, this is what I'm telling you today, but check back tomorrow because it might be something different. And it's sincerely that way. I mean, it's just so we don't really know. We don't really know. So it's exciting. And I think when you're looking for products in the industry to use, make sure they're reputable with some science back. There's a lot of good stuff coming. And, the regulation that we're kind of unhappy about, I just had someone explain it to me today. It's not to get rid of the good people. It's to get rid of the schmutz. And there's been a lot of schmutz in our industry. And now in the CBD industry, there's a whole lot of smudge because now, like you said, it's the new vitamin C. It's the new acai berry. It's the new whatever. It's the new goji berry. It's the new go-to, because one thing for sure in America, for sure, in Western civilization, we want to put something in our mouth and boom, have an instant fix.
Yeah, we want the magic pill.
We want the magic pill, and so now
red or blue, give it up.
Give it the fuck up. For real.
Seriously. So this is a perfect segue because inside of the training, I talk about a theory called the multi-prong approach, right? So ultimately, the big selling point of CBD is homeostasis. It's going to help you achieve perfect balance in your body. But my question is, how do you go from chronic inflammation, autoimmune disease, diabetes, these are a lot of the issues that people come to me with, and I'm sure you hear duplicates of this all the time. Anything from cancer recovery to chronic headaches to, my thyroid is dead. I was just diagnosed with Hashimoto's, chronic digestive conditions. And they're like, I heard if I take CBD that I'll be able to sleep at night. I heard if I take CBD that I'll stop having heartburn. And I'm like, yeah, okay, perfect. What are you eating?
Don't eat that cheeseburger.
Yeah. What are you having for dinner tonight? Is always my question. What are you drinking right now? What's in your hand? And they're like, oh, this a little Slurpee from 7-Eleven, and I'm like, well, yellow number 9 ain't going to help, darling. So, so I think there's a really, really, this is one of the misconceptions, right? That CBD is the new magic pill. It's the new snake oil. We're going to get instant results. And I see all over my commentary, oh, how do I know it's working? Because I don't feel high. Oh, how do I know that it's working? I don't feel anything. And my question is, what do you have to do collaboratively? So if we agree that inflammation is sort of the starting point of disease or chronic illness, right? That's going to be the first sign. Heat in the area, both on top or inside of the body, is going to be the first sign that there's something wrong. If you go past the point of no return, how can you use CBD effectively to start to restore some of that balance? And do you have to approach it from multiple angles?
Well, that's a lot. There's so using CBD every day, I absolutely think is great because of its restorative quality to the nerve system. So, if I had to pick between vitamin C and CBD, I think I'd probably pick CBD because of that restoration experience within the nerve system. All right. If I'm taking CBD and eating fast food every single day and sucking down, a pack of cigarettes and drinking a gallon of soda, it's like a wash.
Yeah.
Because it's just a plant. It's just a plant. I have this conversation with people about chemotherapy and using cannabinoids, and I'm like, this is just a plant. It's just a tiny little plant, and you're just a carbon-based being. And this is a gigantic chemical that's going to come in and annihilate everything. You can't, organic stuff can't hold up to chemical stuff. We're not designed to. You know?
And a lot of the stuff that's in our foods right now, even the way that it's being cultivated, is genetically modified and chemically modified, chemically enhanced. And they're our favorite treats, right? They're our favorite treats and eats. We swing through a fast food restaurant. We grab a soda on the way out the door.
It's real simple. Just stay out of the middle of the grocery store and you'll be fine.
Stay on the outskirts and we'll be
Stay on the outskirts of the grocery store, you're going to be good. And then the other simple, really easy rule of thumb is if you can say it, you can eat it. But if you can't say it, don't eat it. And if your bun has more than 5 or 7 ingredients in it, there's too many. So,
keep better get hooked on phonics.
Sorry?
I was saying they better get hooked on phonics so they can start to pronounce some of
Right, exactly. Things with 14 syllables.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah, like every letter in the alphabet twice. Like, what is that? Who makes up that name?
Yeah.
Anyways, that's not the point of what we're talking about. But, so I'm a big proponent. So the real question is now, okay, so everyone's flooding this cannabinoid market. CBD is everywhere, and it's like, oh, this is the best stuff. Well, not all of it is created the same for sure, because the growing standard is different, right? Like there was a product on the market called RHSO a while ago. I don't know if they're still standing, Hemp Works or something. They kind of started this CBD market, and what they had done is they had brought a bunch of stuff over from Holland and it just wasn't clean and they couldn't get rid of it and they kept trying to rename it, and then they made Canaway, and I don't know if they finally got through their 90,000 gallon vats of garbage by renaming and redistributing. But it's really important that y'all know this, okay? Just because if you can buy it on the shelf, it's more than likely garbage, period. If you can walk into Trader Joe's has really high standards. So, but if you can get it at your local grocery store or at CVS, don't, don't, because that's a lot of industrial hemp packaged as medicinal cannabis. And it's not. Now, there's a lot of medicinal stuff in hemp. Because it's a natural antioxidant and it's a natural anti-inflammatory, those two things are through the roof right away. Just naturally, by using, a hemp-based product, you're going to raise your antioxidant level and you're going to reduce the inflammation in your system. So it's already a win-win. So if you couple that with a cleaner diet, good water, sleep, and a healthier lifestyle, one that's not full of stress, you're going to feel the benefits of it so much more than if you're sucking down a 6-pack of Coke and driving through the drive-through and waking up to some donuts and then, falling asleep with 4 or 5 beers.
Right. And I hate to say it, but that is the Homer Simpson diet, and that is a replica of Middle America. And so I really want you guys to consider what we're saying. Rewatch Module 4 and 5, where we're talking about the multi-pronged approach. We're talking about how to nourish the mind, the body, the spirit, becoming self-aware adding things that help you practice self-aware care. These things are mandatory if you are truly trying to tap into your vitality. And if you are being a representative of this product, we have an opportunity here to set ourselves apart from the rest, not push products, but help people understand lifestyles that can bring long-term results for them. Ultimately, that's what we have to represent here, or we will turn into a synthetic pharmaceutical industry because the bigs are very, very rich. They're rich in resources. They're rich in everything, and can and will try to take us over. But if we are ambassadors of the truth and really help push, healthy living that is opening the gate.
And that's what we all really want. I mean, so much so that one of my clients is one of the McDonald heiresses. And I was visiting with her the other day, and she told me that, and this is huge for the organic market, McDonald's is going organic. That's so huge. McDonald's controls, 85% of our food on the planet. They had to stop doing the Asian chicken salad because they almost destroyed the entire production of the edamame bean. They're sincerely real truth. So they're going holistic. They're going organic. So you'll be able to get organic food. I mean, all their eggs are organic now. All their breads will become organic. All their salads are going to be organic. So this is huge for us in the mainstream. It's huge. It's saying that, and why does food need to be organic? It is organic. So for McDonald's, this giant company, to say we're not going to use chemically rich food, we're winning the Monsanto fight. We're winning.
Yes. Celebration time. Okay, I might have me a burger when I see that.
Well, they're going to be rolling out in 2020, so hold on. It takes them 5 years to implement a product because that's how big their impact is.
Wow, that's fantastic, and that's really, really great news. No eating McDonald's until year 2020.
2020. Yeah. So when I started to process CBD, like I said, it was on some false information. But as I began to learn more about it, I really experienced how powerful it was by itself. I like to call it clean Adderall, because the thing with cannabinoids and hemp is that they're always sativas. Yes, I love the sativa. So they're always stimulating, which is great news for all of us people who are really coughing and stuck. Like the last thing I cannot, there's no way I could take an indica based product at 9:00 in the morning and function at 11 o'clock a.m. I'd be like in bed at 10. I'd be down. I'd be like, thanks, excellent 15 minutes, enjoyed it. I'll see you at noon. So CBD, because it does not have that psychotropic experience as THC does, is able to just feed our nerve system. Just simply do that much. And that, you say that, oh, that's no big deal. Are you freaking kidding me? That's no big deal. You are your nerve system. And you cannot feed it any other way. You can't go drink a bunch of water and be like, hey, fed my nerve system. You can't go take a 10-minute nap and be like, fed my nerve system. This is it. This is the only way. Because of the endocannabinoid system, the fact that it literally sits on top of the nerve system and it pulses into it. It feeds the nerve system. That's its whole job. It's pretty fabulous, I think. It makes me I want to dance around and have a party over it.
Yeah.
Because it's such a simple thing. So I work a lot with kids who have autism and kids on the spectrum. And if anyone's listening to this who has those children, the only problem with them is that you're not smart enough and quick enough to deal with them, because they are rapid fire. They are moving. They process information 100 times quicker than we do. And they don't need words. They don't need things like words and explanations. When we're trying to say, they're phew, on the other side of it. So it's very frustrating for them to have to slow down and tolerate us. Slow people who are not on the spectrum, moving at 1,000 speeds of light, right? So cannabinoids are great for these kids because they put some space in their brain. It's that simple. They slow down that rapid neurofiring enough for that child, 36, it doesn't matter, to be able to have that, to slow down to get to our speed.
Wow.
I think that's great. It's great for us, because then we're not like, scared of them, because they have so much to offer us.
Yeah.
So, and it helps them because that space in the brain gives them the ability to interact with people. And even though they're incredibly intelligent, they're lonely because we need each other. We need that social interaction, whether we like it or not. We still need to be able to sit down with somebody and have a conversation about something.
Yeah.
So THC doesn't do any of that. Just like it just doesn't do that. The real powerhouse in the cannabinoid structure, in the cannabis structure, is CBD as far as what it's going to do for your body long term. THC has very important roles, but we're not talking about that right now. And I'm not saying that we don't need it, but really on a day-to-day basis, using cannabinoids, CBD is where it's at, man.
Yeah, I can hear that. Okay, so now that we are all certain that we are using, that we need to be using it, that there's multiple uses for it, there's over 45 different conditions that have been listed as benefiting from the use of CBD products. Now it's down to differentiating. You started to talk a little bit about sourcing. And we, in our last interview with Dr. Emmett Blair, he emphasized the power of sourcing so much. I think that we really get it. What we start with is what we're going to end up with, right? So we really need a high quality source. When we're talking to manufacturers or distributors, we want to know how to ask the right questions. Is it an organically sourced product? Is it grown with pesticides? Does it have herbicides? Or are we using all natural stuff? Can you really track the seed to sale process? But now there are products, it gets a little bit more complicated. CBD isolate, CBD distillate, or full spectrum. Can you talk a little bit about what the difference is between them and what we should really be looking for and why?
Okay, so just real simple, you should be looking for full spectrum CBD because that, first of all, because it's just CBD, it's missing some of its molecular structure. So if you only have one arm, do you want to go without, now do you only want 3 fingers, So it's kind of like the more we separate it, the less it really works in our body. Like there's a lot of things that are happening in the industry just happening for money. They're not happening because it's a better product. Distillate is one of them because, THC, So then this whole conversation happened about how we can just get the CBD molecule. And that's what a distillate is. It's just that one tiny just that one molecule, just CBD, not CBG, not CBN, not CB anything, just CBD. So so I don't like the isolate, and I think it's garbage, and don't buy it. That's just straight up. There's nothing. I can't even find something inside of myself that would give me reason to suggest using it.
Yeah, I agree.
When they smoke, they put it on weed, and why? What are you doing? That's like making a speedball. That's dumb. Like Jim Belushi died doing that. Don't do that, folks. Don't do that. I wanted to show you guys, we call it crude. Okay. And crude oil means that this is a secondary distillation. So we start out green with all the chlorophyll. And then to make it just more, just
like it's golden honey.
You see how it's just clear? It looks kind of like snot. Okay, so it's
like honey, not snot.
Honey. Okay, yeah, I was gonna say it's the consistency of honey, which is sort of not like snot, but yeah. So it's real. It's just the cannabinoid profile of CBD. So I take this. First we do this, and this is a double process as far as, going from a raw plant material that's soaked through alcohol. I mean, there's so many levels here. Where do you get, CO2 is not the same kind of medicine that alcohol extraction is. So when you're buying CBD product, it doesn't, I don't know if the labeling makes you say now that it's CO2 extraction or not. I'm not sure.
It's a buzzword, it's a sort of a way to label whore. And this is interesting because we definitely talked about the different levels of extraction. We talked about distillate sort of being round 2 or 3, where you're removing plant matter and some of the chlorophyll and all of that stuff. So you're getting this clearer, more honey-like substance, or like amber syrup, sap. And we talked about decarboxylation and winterization and, all of these different processes. But Dr. Emick was saying, CO2 is something that naturally occurs in the body. So you'd never have to worry about taking out some of the solvents. And I was thinking to myself, well, I really prefer an ethanol or alcohol-based extraction. So I mean, I'm not here
to tell you why. So for people, just to make it really super easy, the difference between CO2 and alcohol is that CO2 presses things with air, right? So it destroys everything except for the acid that the temperature is set at to extract. So when they push everything through that air pocket, they're killing all the terpenes in the back panel of the plant, and they're just raising the acid of CBD or THC, depending on what they're blowing and what they want to get. And then once they get it out of that, they still have to run it through a secondary system to take out the schmutz. There's so much schmutz in a CO2 run that they have to run it through a secondary distillation called a short path to remove the fats, the waxes, and that ends up removing the terpenes. And then that ultimately, again, pushes the acid of THC or CBD higher. So basically, you strip it to nothing with CO2, and you get exactly what you're looking for, which sounds great, except for your body is designed for an entourage effect. It's not designed to take one molecule. When you eat a tomato, you don't just you're getting the whole tomato, like you don't just whip out the seeds, and eat that and be like, when you buy a tomato, imagine if you bought a tomato and there was nothing inside of it. It was just hollow. That's kind of what a CO2 extraction is like. It's like you still get the structure of the tomato, but there's nothing in it.
You can tell that you're a tree nymph who talks to Middle Earth quite a bit. This freaking mermaid coming out over here from her aspen.
From my little life, just carved out from the sea. Yeah. Well, I mean, like, these are things that people can look in their house.
These are perfect analogies to help us understand. And these are things that you should be sharing in your conversations with people. Not that you're ever going to be asked this, but while you are an ambassador of CBD and this movement that is happening towards taking ownership of our health and well-being, moving away from the enslavement of the pharmaceutical industry and the traditional medical system that has really only been designed to keep you taking their prescriptions, buying their insurances. This is not a treatment-based system. This is not a healing system or a cure-based system. This is a treatment system. We want to keep you being treated. It's not a good business model.
About wellness, right?
So while you are an ambassador of holistic health and healing, using CBD as a tool to build sustainable income, to, help your friends and family, you really need to understand this stuff and be able to explain it in a way that is easy and digestible for the person that you're speaking to. So God bless you, Robin, and have
with my tomatoes. Yeah.
Your hollow tomato. I'm like, okay.
Hollow tomato, you get it. That doesn't work. Like, what is a hollow tomato, right? So it's a little harder to find an alcohol extracted CBD thing. It just is. Colorado is great for it because Colorado kind of, with the Stanley brothers, they really kind of pioneered that market, and they kind of set the gold standard sort of on CBD products. And I don't know how Charlotte's Web is made now, but when they originally started making it, they were doing an ethanol extraction with it.
Yeah.
That was where they started. So, things change. I hope they're still there. And how do you find that? You're just going to have to ask. No, that's not going to be at Rite Aid. You're going to have to spend a little bit more money for that because it doesn't pull the same. It's not as, cheap to make. So
it's going to be a little bit more of an investment, but you guys are in love.
But you're investing in yourself, and the difference is between an antioxidant and an actual medicine. So antioxidants are great. Eat hemp hearts, go to Costco, spend $5, get a big ass bag. That's kind of when you're buying industrial hemp as medicine, you are basically eating hemp hearts from Costco. So do that because it's cheaper and it tastes better. And you can make hemp milk by just grinding them, and squeezing them.
And soaking them and squeezing them out.
Yeah.
And I'll show you guys some of that stuff when we do cooking with CBD or some of our CBD smoothie recipes. I'll show you some of the products that we use that are hemp-based, and I absolutely love them as a plant-based alternative to like fish oils and stuff like that, because the same thing happens there. They say natural, but truthfully, they are distilled down to nothing and become synthetic. So I'm happy to share with you some of the stuff that we use. And you guys are in luck because inside of our recommended products area or inside of our bonus section, every single product that has CBD in it has been approved and run through tested by us, our team, our families. It is products that I have used, do use, am willing to use on myself, my kids, my family members. And I'll have you know that because we've had 1 million followers, almost every major company on the marketplace has reached out to us wanting to sell us their products. I literally have a giant bin of stuff that I would.
Oh my God! Wow. And Alan, it is garbage.
and a lot of it is stuff that I would never share with you. So if you just check out what's inside of our recommended products list, we've taken out a lot of the guesswork for you so that you can make a decision for yourself, invest in your family's health and your health in your business, however you are choosing to utilize this information. It is right there for you along with some incredible resources. And Robin's products are actually going to be listed inside of there. So go ahead and check them out. They're all inside of the recommended products and recommended readers list.
So let's talk about how much CBD you should take,
on a daily basis. On a daily basis, average Joe, I have seen 25 milligrams. I've seen 50 milligrams. I've heard 100 milligrams. There's 1,000 milligram tinctures out on the marketplace. I know that there's a difference between active milligrams. I don't want to dive too deep into that.
Right.
I love a general idea.
So here's a general rule of thumb with all cannabinoids, okay? 5 milligrams per 100 pounds. Super easy. Everyone can remember that. 5 milligram dose per 100 pounds. So if you're a 200-pound person, your suggested dose would be 10 milligrams. Do you see? So you can go up and down from that, but the suggested dose is 5 milligrams per 100 pounds.
Wow. And what can somebody expect to feel one day, 1 week?
And that's the other great thing about CBD is that you don't feel anything. Like people say, well, I didn't feel anything. And I'm like, well, are you breathing? And they're like, well, yeah. I'm like, well, then something's happening. You're feeling something because it's so like all of a sudden you notice, well, I didn't crash at 3:00 in the afternoon, or I didn't get that residual headache that I get every third day on Tuesday when my mother-in-law comes over, or my knee didn't bother me for 3 days. But nothing happened because when the chronic pain isn't knocking on your door, you forget about it until all of a sudden you realize, well, I haven't been in pain. So are the heavens going to go off in your head? I hope to shout not. That means that there's something neurologically wrong with you. What are you going to experience from using CBD? You're going to have energy. You're going to feel better. Your endocrine system is going to function like clearer. The things that fire off the sugars in your body. I'm losing the name of the system right now. I can see it in my head, but I can't remember it. It's so sad. I had blood.
Adrenal?
Yeah, your adrenals and
endocrine.
Yes, thank you. God, I had lots of charts behind my beautiful let's say that the endocrine system. Yeah, it's reducing the insulin. Yeah, insulin, that's the word I'm looking for. Yeah, so it reduces the production of insulin. So this is how it helps diabetes. I mean, I have many clients who have just used CBD on concentrate, and have gone off their diabetic medicines in less than a month. Mind-blowing. Lost 60 pounds. Didn't really change much of anything, but started adding 60 to 100 milligrams into their day, and they lost 60 pounds because it brings your body into balance. And as your body comes into balance, you don't want to eat the cheeseburger. You're not looking to grab the chips and the candy bar at the checkout sign.
You don't have the same cravings.
It's not even like there's nothing you have to give up because your body is now being fed. It's now using your own fuel. Your fat cells are now burning inside of your body. You're not looking outside of yourself trying to fix that sugar dip.
Don't say that too many times. We're going to have people like this with CBD.
It's really true though. It's really just like it doesn't, does it address pain? Not so much, not the way that, other cannabinoid profiles do. But what it does do is it reduces the inflammation, and that's a huge piece.
Yes. So what Robin's talking about is when you are having an acute, chronic pain attack, some sort of knee or ankle or surgical or whatever, having the presence of THC is necessary and very powerful when managing those more extenuating or life-altering circumstances. But if you're looking to shift things at the source, cut them off at the head and reestablish patterns in your body, CBD is a really great beginning point there. Any closing thoughts? Because I feel like this is super powerful and a great place to sort of close this conversation. Let you guys know that there's much, much more inside of our other courses and communities. But for the subject matter and the CBD Ambassadors Program, I think that this was a perfect bite off of a well-rounded meal here. So, Robin, closing statements.
Eat your cannabinoids every day. I make sure you drink clean water and laugh. Honestly, the best medicine is laughter. I say that all the time. Make sure you have a high level of laughter in your life.
Get around people who have bad jokes and a great sense of humor, and you'll be just fine. Hey, you guys, we love you so much. Thank you so much for tuning in with us for another bonus broadcast with one of our incredible industry experts and game changers who are working inside of this industry on behalf of you, on behalf of me, and everybody in this world who can benefit from the growth of this industry and the use of these plant medicines. There are so many beneficial plants that are straight from our creator that have not even gotten the recognition that they deserve. And while this one is taking center stage, thank you so much. And we will pay homage to its creators, to its medicine makers. Thank you so much for the work that you do in the industry, Robin, for being such a voice of truth, a source of compassion for the people who need understanding while they're using this and pioneering for their own wellness. So I really appreciate that. You guys, make sure that you dive into our Facebook community. Let us know your thoughts and feelings on today's interview. And also comment below. Let us know if you had any burning questions that did not get asked or answered here, and we will be happy to address them in another interview. For now, I'm your host, Sonia Gomez, and I will see you guys in the next show. Thanks for listening to another Rockstar episode of the Hemp Revolution podcast. I'm your host, Sonia Gomez, and just for you, we took notes on this episode along with the links and other resources mentioned inside of today's show. Get them for free right now by going to theemeraldcircle.com. Now, if you want more on this, please subscribe to the show on Apple Podcast or wherever you like to listen, and you will be automatically entered in to our monthly giveaway where you can get swag bags, all kinds of cool gifts and discounts from our guests, and exclusive offers that are only mentioned right here in the Hemp Revolution podcast. I can't wait for you to share this with your friends. With your help, we've been able to impact millions of people's lives around the world with the truth about hemp and cannabis. And we know that you love us so much that you're going to leave a review and rate us right now on your favorite platform to absorb content just like this. Now, we challenge you to dream big and love the life that you live. Thanks so much, and we hope to see you on our next episode of the Hemp Revolution podcast. Ciao for now.